next. Matter of fact, up now, part B coming through, so you better reroute. The little boy got talent, no doubt. Make way, I'm coming through. You looking at me, I don't know what you should do.
One can't.
Wait, so I literally just did a video to this, and I messed up with the volume, so I'm just gonna redo it, but I'm not gonna be here, so I'm gonna just cover up the camera. Y'all just gonna watch the video, you feel me? But yeah, that's all I got for y'all for right now. But we're about to get into this video. Like I said, Jordan's the GOAT. Always right, never wrong.
Stop talking about it. Who is the GOAT? Well, who better to ask than the men who played the sport? Some of the best hoopers of all time. What's up, everybody? It's Jimmy, and it seems like every day a discussion is held in regards to who is the best basketball player of all time. No, like this conversation is held every single day, multiple times a day. Honestly, how many times do I need to hear Skip Bayless's opinion on who the GOAT is before I slip into a full-fledged depression? And every time the topic comes up, whoever is speaking on the matter feels that their opinion and the facts that they state are always more justified and accurate than their opposition. So in an effort to end this narrative, at least for now, I have compiled a list of some of the best basketball players of all time and their opinion on who they think is the GOAT. Now, to start things off, if we're going to ask this question, we might as well start off with the man who most people believe to be the GOAT, Michael Jordan. And to no one's surprise, his vote for the greatest player of all time goes to himself. He also noted that the only player in the history of the game that might be able to beat him was a prime Kobe Bryant, but only because he stole all of his moves.
Yeah, I don't think I lose. Other than Kobe Bryant, because he steals all my moves.
In 1985, after going head-to-head with a rookie Michael Jordan, Larry Bird said that Jordan was the best player ever. This was the reigning MVP, saying that a 22-year-old rookie was the best player he had ever seen. Bird then backed up this statement again in 1998 by saying that Jordan was the best player in the world. Of course, these opinions came before some all-time greats hit their prime or even joined the league, but I am sure his 2 cents remains the same after all these years. In an interview on TNT years ago, when asked who he thought was the GOAT, Magic Johnson had no doubt that MJ is the greatest of all time.
No question, Michael is head and shoulder above everybody else.
Now, this next one is interesting. In an interview towards the end of his life, Wilt Chamberlain was asked who he thought the GOAT was, and he gave an answer no one was expecting. Wilt said that the most sensational, awesome, incredible basketball player I've ever seen was Meadowlark Lemon. Before making this video, I had never even heard of Mr. Lemon, but if he was good enough to convince Wilt that he was the best of all time, that's pretty hard to argue. Bill Russell, the man with more championship rings than fingers on his hands, believes that Michael Jordan is the greatest basketball player of all time, saying that he cannot imagine anyone playing any better. Oscar Robertson's pick for the GOAT was a bit ambiguous. When asked the question, he did not give one player in specific. However, he specifically said that he does not think MJ is the GOAT, following up by saying, sure, he won 6 championships, Russell won 11. There are other players on these teams when they play. They don't play by themselves. Is Michael Jordan the greatest of all time? No, I don't think he is. However, when asked about LeBron, Robertson said that James is in a class of his own, so I guess we'll give his vote to LeBron. Kareem Abdul-Jabbar said that he believes that Wilt Chamberlain was undoubtedly the greatest scorer of all time, but it is actually Oscar Robertson who he thinks is the best player of all time. Karl Malone, with what could possibly be a very biased opinion, believes that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player of all time. Being a big man himself, he felt that what Kareem did for the game of basketball was remarkable. Now, Isaiah Thomas has had a rocky relationship with some of these GOAT candidates, but he personally believes that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the greatest player of all time. But we aren't sure exactly what to believe when it comes to Isaiah Thomas's opinion on the subject, since he changes it so often. When he was in the NBA, he said it was Jordan who was the best player ever. Then a few years ago, he said it was Kareem that had earned the title of GOAT. But as recently as 2017, Thomas said that he believes it is LeBron James who is the greatest ever. John Stockton, like some other legends mentioned on this list, list can't pick just one player to anoint as the GOAT. In an interview at ESPN with Skip Bayless and Stephen A. Smith, Stockton said that there are a lot of players that fit in the conversation as best ever, like Jordan, Chamberlain, Bird, Magic, and Elgin Baylor, but he never gave one player in particular. The round mound of rebound, Sir Charles Barkley himself, thinks that Michael Jordan is the greatest of all time, saying that he was the greatest player offensively and also the best defensive player of his era.
Well, I think that the point they touched on, Michael was, they're always trying to say, who's the next Michael Jordan? And they only look at offense. Michael Jordan was the best defensive player who played during our era, and that's what separated him.
Elgin Baylor not only believes that Michael Jordan was the greatest player of all time, but he also believes that there will never be another MJ, saying, "I don't think there will be another player to have the same impact on the game of basketball as Michael Jordan. If you look up the definition of greatness in the dictionary, it will say Michael Jordan." One of the oldest legends in the game of basketball, Bob Cousy, thinks that MJ was the best as well, saying he's by far the best since Naismith hung up the basket. He's the best without a question. Shaquille O'Neal, arguably the most dominant force the NBA has ever seen, believes the GOAT title belongs to Michael Jordan. Michael Jordan is definitely the best basketball player of all time. He's the greatest offensive weapon to ever play and probably the best defensive player we've ever seen. In an interview in 2013, Julius Erving was asked if LeBron James was the greatest player of all time, and his response was pretty simple. For him to be the greatest ever, LeBron has to surpass Kareem Abdul-Jabbar. He is the best to ever play the game. So Dr. J's vote goes to Kareem. Jerry West, the logo himself, believes that MJ is the GOAT. In an interview in 1999, West said, "I have to think he's the greatest player ever, not because of his ability to score, but because of his total game. To me, he's the best offensive player and the best defensive player in the league for a number of years. As far as I'm concerned, he's the modern day Babe Ruth." The next legend is one with another interesting opinion. A few years ago, Scottie Pippen was asked who he thought was the greatest player of all time, and he said without a doubt that title belongs to Michael Jordan, saying, "We all know that Jordan is the greatest player that ever played the game." However, in an interview just last December, Pippen said that LeBron has surpassed Jordan as the GOAT. Clearly, as you can see here, this upset Stephen A. Smith pretty bad. But just a few days ago, when asked who he thought was the GOAT, he changed his mind and said that Wilt Chamberlain was the greatest player of all time.
To say who is the greatest, we will never know that. I mean, in my eye, Wilt Chamberlain is the greatest basketball player.
So we'll just go ahead and assume Scottie hasn't made up his mind yet. Bill Walton, a great player and an even better broadcaster, believes that Kareem Abdul-Jabbar is the GOAT. In an interview a few years ago, Walton said, "Without a question, no hesitation, Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was the best player I've ever played against. He was better than Magic, better than Larry, better than Michael Jordan. He was phenomenal." Granted, Walton's illustrious career at UCLA began just 2 years after Kareem left UCLA, and his opinion may be a bit biased. Kareem is his GOAT. Hakeem Olajuwon, another incredible big man, says that the GOAT is probably Jordan. When asked about the greatest of all time, Olajuwon said that Jordan is much superior than any other player. In 2012, Bob Pettit was asked who he thought was the greatest player of all time, and his answer was Bill Russell. "I think he's the greatest player who ever walked on the courts. They say with 11 championship rings, he's the greatest winner of all time. Why don't you just say he's the greatest player of all time? That's what the game is about." George Gervin is another legend that believes Kareem Abdul-Jabbar was in fact the greatest player of all time. In a 2014 interview, Gervin said, "The greatest of all time to me, because that's who I played against, is Kareem. His dominance, his accuracy was almost next to none." Real quick, you ever say a word so many times that it begins to sound weird? GOAT. 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 Well, we're at the final stretch here, so hopefully the word GOAT doesn't permanently lose its meaning for me. Rick Barry believes it is impossible to compare players of different positions, but thinks you have to start a team with big men, and because of that, he chooses Wilt Chamberlain. "I keep hearing Michael Jordan is the greatest, and that upsets me. It's not fair to other players. You can't compare a two-guard to a center. Wilt is the greatest big man in the history of the game, and you win with big men." I'm sorry, but clearly Rick Barry hasn't watched very much basketball in the last, decade, but we'll go on. Lastly, Walt Frazier believes that it is none other than Wilt Chamberlain who is the GOAT. In an interview with NBC in 2015, Frazier said that Chamberlain is on a whole different level. If I had to pick a guy, it would be Wilt Chamberlain, because if you look at his records, it's hilarious. Nobody will approach any of his records. So what is the final count? Well, out of 23 NBA legends, 10 have Michael Jordan as the greatest basketball player of all time. Kareem had the second most votes with 4. Wilt got 2 votes. LeBron James received 2 votes. And Bill Russell, Oscar Robertson, and my man Meadowlark Lemon each received 1 vote. Keep in mind, 2 legends did not specifically pick one player. Now, take this information however you want to. But if this information tells us anything, it is that most of the best players to have ever played the game believe Michael Jordan stands alone as the best to ever do it. What do I think of this? Well, for the most part, I agree with them. Michael Jordan is simply in a class of his own. And I'm not talking about accomplishments or rings or any of that. I'm just talking about what I see when I watch the game of basketball. When he was on the court, he honestly just made everyone around him look like children. The man was simply better than everyone he ever played against. Now, I'm only 23, so there is a lot of basketball I never even got to watch. Many legends that honestly I can't really speak on because I never even watched them play. Yeah, I can and have watched game film and highlight reels, but it's not the same. But one thing I do know is that when I watch film of Michael Jordan in his prime, he has this thing about him. You get this feeling that when you're watching him play, you are watching the best basketball you have ever seen. And I have never had that feeling with any other player. Not with Kobe, not with Kareem, not with Bird or Magic. However, I do get that same sense of greatness when I watch this guy. When I watch LeBron play, 99% of the time, he makes everyone else on the court look like they don't belong there. And again, I'm not talking about accomplishments or rings, wins or lack thereof. I'm just talking about what I see when I watch the game of basketball. And yeah, I'm biased because again, I have never watched a lot of great players play live. So my opinion is only worth so much. Personally, I think Jordan is the greatest player to ever play. I think you can make a strong case for guys like Kareem, Wilt, Russell, Magic, and even players like Kobe, Bird, and Olajuwon. I also think that LeBron's story is still being written. His career isn't over yet, but for now, MJ continues to reign supreme. But the conversation is definitely interesting. In a poll released in December of 2017, basketball fans were asked how close is LeBron to catching MJ. These were the results. Ranker, a website that conducts data from users of the site, has the top 10 looking like this. One thing to keep in mind is that a lot of these opinions were from 2, 3, even 10 years ago. That may not change much, but it is something to consider. Let me know what you guys think. Do you agree with these legends, or do you believe the real GOAT is someone we didn't even mention? Whatever the case may be, it's never too late to watch some of the best players in the game today ball out. And with the playoffs narrowing down, tickets can get pretty spendy, so what better time than now to use SeatGeek. SeatGeek is an app that aggregates tickets from all over the web to make buying simple. They put a 1 to 100 score on each ticket to let you know if you're getting a good deal or a bad one. Green, that's a good deal. Red, not so much. You can even see the view from any seat within the app. Just click on the Me tab within the app to enter the promo code Jimmy to get $20 off your first order. Check out SeatGeek. Let me know who you guys think is the real GOAT. And as always, until next time.
Bang, till next time. But like I said, it's only 3 names that's given, you feel me? It's more than 3, but here it is to me. GOAT, King, Splash Bros, right? Don't nobody else got a name like that. Oh, no, that's not a name. But the GOAT, it is Michael Jordan. The King, without a doubt, is LeBron James. Facts. I'll give him his props. That's facts. Then the Splash Bro, Splash family or whatever they call, is Steph Curry. Unless Trae Young come in to make noise. You see? Everybody come for everybody's spot. Just like LeBron is coming for Jordan. Colin Sexton is coming for Kyrie. Trae Young's coming for Curry. Like, everybody's still trying to get a name, you feel me? So just give Jordan is proud, bro. He's the GOAT. LeBron's the king. Like, but like for everybody that know me, everybody know I always say Jordan is the GOAT. They be like, no, LeBron's the GOAT. Nah, wrong. But yeah, man. Oh yeah, get this video to 200 views, and I'll do a part 2 with the rookies coming in, who they think the GOAT is. And that's all.
Watch the breakdown.